with 80 players up, Shakeoff and Skydune aren't going to be too worried about that. King and Fazer, you said it yourself, back in their home, Reckless Railways, although 5th zone has pulled more towards the east. The rotate will have to come through, but you don't have to go early. So many duos right now are looking for those tags, looking for Surge, and the last thing you want is for the pressure to be on you.
Yeah, King peeked, he got sniped. You saw the shields just drained off. Luckily for them, they do have the medallion, so they're not going to waste too much, get back into shape. Mahi, though, and his duo, Topco, they were the ones that tried to aggress. They're barely above the damage threshold at 88, but that was just because of the risk that they just took to try to get those shots, and that's what you have to do. If you're not able to find it on rotation, you see a lot of teams boxed up, sometimes you just got to knock on the door.
Depends on the other side of that door, though. If it was Fazer and King, it wouldn't go too well for me. But there's a lot of veterans. These are the best of the EU region competing here today. And for the duos like Topco, who now have to make this rotate through the storm. So many players are still inside of the zone. It's just going to make it that much more difficult if you rotate late.
Even though they fall a little bit lower than where they were on Storm Surge, it's great to see them so far ahead compared to some of the typical games they have been having up until this point, but they become the focus momentarily. They have to stagger themselves on the edge of the zone, and if you know exactly where we're pulling towards Grand Glacier, the mountain ridges, this one could be drastic if it continues to pull that way and teams aren't prepared.
You want to be on the opposite side of the zone here. You want to be the one with the higher elevation, but luckily enough, 6th zone so far has appeared on the Reckless Railways side. Will it continue to pull towards the west, though? Is the main question that these players have right now. Ruban, Axe Force, 1 Elam on the board. They were in an engagement here. It doesn't look like anything came from it previously, but look at that. Quick pickings, 1 more knock. Can they make it 2?
Literally just one damage above the threshold for now. They've done literally barely enough to go ahead and find some comfortability as it finally loads up, clicks in, see what the damage is really like here in this situation. And with Storm Surge active here in the 6th zone, it's not going to deactivate until 54 players are left. That's about 15, 16 or so players that need to go down. So everybody like Baha and Mixon are in such a tough spot, because even if they find themselves ahead here, they can easily fall right back below with so many players still left alive.
Desperate is what they are now, causing them to make these quick decisions, like jumping into opponents' boxes, but it could lead to their demise, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Yupko, Blaha gone, but it's going to be King and Fazer that capitalize on that situation and get the extra loot.
Yeah, perfect find. Even though it wasn't a ton of loot that they needed, it was more so the Storm Surge. You saw them falling down that leaderboard little by little during their last rotation. Now they're right back on up in better shape than they were before, because now they have all these extra mats, all of these extra resources, everything that they need and more to continue to move forward into the next stage of the game. And you can see everybody around them that kind of took what we were talking about, the mountain ridges, they prepared for it, and that's why the east side is so stacked at this point in time.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. You can tell the experience of this lobby with the amount of duos that have based up around the east side here, because if it ends up pulling there, it's going to be way more difficult to rotate from Reckless Railways up the ridge versus down it. But look at that, Jacob. They were preparing for the worst case scenario, but it might have been the best for the ones who are at the railways.
This might be a good zone for King and Fazer as well, because it's going back over to their home territory towards the Reckless Railways. They can recycle a lot of builds, but LUCAAZGB.Y.T, even though they have a rotation to make, being 35 above, they're using this opportunity to look all around at these rotating players to find some shots that they can land. Keffi and Relvis, they desperately need these shots now. 35 below, running out of heals and running out of time.
2 more minis will take 2 more ticks from Storm Surge, but all they need is 1 shot, being 35. Issue is 25 bullets and the Striker AR. If you end up using them all, that's it. You're gonna have to get all up close and personal. No more shield left. 2 ticks until Keffi gets eliminated.
Uh-oh, only 1 now, and he just needs to land 1 shot is all it takes, but he runs out of medium ammo and goes down because of it, leaving it all on the line in our 3rd and final game of the day. But you see other players still positioned towards the backside of zone that need to make their rotation on over. Wheat's going to lead the charge for him and Shimoki, and he's going to be the one that's kind of tasked with finding themselves a safe spot in towards the zone.
Straight lining it down the middle here, alongside almost seems like the whole lobby, as you'll have to be careful on where you're grapple blading to. Try and not pick the same positions that you think your opponents will. Avoid getting yourself boxed up. Where is Wheat though? Where is your duo partner, Shimoki? There he is, barely making it in, forced now to pop a med kit.
And their position here ain't too bad either. I will say they are stuck between a literal rock and a hard place, but you see them extending outward, giving themselves more room to work with as they make their way in zone. They know that they're 75 above the damage threshold, but at the same time, quickly falling below. They hear some shots going off inside. That's Vox. That's DKS. They're trying to take a 2v1 while the timing is right, but Vox goes down. Storm moving in. DKS can't be a hero. He has to continue to move forward, or it'll cost them everything.
Both players now left as a solo there. Edge of Storm trying to hide if they can, but Storm Surge gets activated again. And now the players have to start healing up, have to start doing damage. But for Shimoki and Wheat, it's just capitalizing on these players that have not done enough and picking them up for that extra loot and eliminations.
Yeah, now they have options. They saw a couple teams go out in this position. You see them scrape together all that loot, bring it back into their base for the next rotation. Forces everybody, or at least the majority of them, into a max pull across the map. But once again, back on over towards Reckless Railways.
Rub on now, Axe Force popping that Flowberry Fizz juice to get them the mobility boost they need to try and get a safer rotate. But be careful, as so many players have a similar idea. Just 35 above, they could do a bit of damage on this rotate. It would be massive. But the most important factor is making it into zone. Great job going all the way around the right side, avoiding the chaos down below. But Raban says, hey, I want an elimination. I want those extra points. I want that damage.
Yeah, he's trying to think far ahead into the future. He's trying to grab the refresh on the mats now so he doesn't have to worry about it later. Luckily for him, Axe Force was the one that caught DKS out and finished a lot of the damage that he was able to start. Quickly ends up in a tough spot, tagged up by Heine. Multiple teams even getting spotted out and taken down. I do believe that might have been one of those turrets that are near Reckless Railways.
Taken out by a turret. I hope not. Hope it was the opponents that landed enough shots. As King and Fazer are actually going to be the ones who are most elevated in this current zone, and seeing that this was their drop spot, hopefully their material count, it does. It looks beautiful, almost max match, most likely for both players. Issue is, the zone does pull to the opposite side. Are they going to want to take it so early on? Are they going to stay second? Go ahead, look back. What do they want here?
This is like a three-phase movie each and every game. We saw part one in game one with Mongrel and Savage. Part two, King and Fazer. Couldn't have written a better script myself, but we'll see how the ending goes. Can they hold on to high ground? Axe Force did a lot of work to get him to this point, but lost Roban along the way. But luckily for him, he has 240 damage above the threshold. He just needs to figure out a way to continue moving forward and not stagger himself too far behind this mess.
High ground getting slightly contested here, but it's still in King and Fazer's favor. But shots keep coming through. Players close behind, they're grapple blading ahead, and so far nobody has overthrown them yet.
Yeah, he saw the 10 shield just get dropped off. Somebody actually grapple bladed onto Fazer himself, flying through the sky. Anything works at this stage with top 20 position here. Everybody kind of dropping like flies. We eat Shimoki trying to get another one off their picnic. That's Edit Course, who gets forced lower and lower into the mud, but reunites with Vortexia along the way. A blessing in disguise, some would say.
Ardum, Chap, Khan, all these players getting ahead of zone on the low ground though. They're stuck on the road in the dirt. Not too many players on the mid layers currently, but now it's Axe Force going. He doesn't have a duo partner though. 4 elims as a solo, as the pressure's on. 2-3 shots connected, gets the knock, but gets eliminated.
Oh, that's a nice opportunity, but Chexy just running rampant there on the low ground. Edit Course looking at height, but finds his opponent Khan and lands a monster of a shot, and that's going to give him the green light. Another one landed. That's his duo Chap. Back to back. They're not letting these players out of their sights. They cleaned that one up, and they know how weak Khan actually is.
4 on the board now. Edit Course Vortexia close to second high. It's King Fazer applying that pressure, making sure they know that the dominance is up above, and nobody tries to overthrow them. Shimoki.Y.T now continuing with 4 elims. They were looking half in shambles earlier on, but now they're looking incredibly powerful. So much loot, just missing the materials.
And that's where I'm looking around, looking at everybody's inventory. Medkits, medkits, medkits. How many if you have them, just in case it comes down to a heal off? Edit course, 0. All weapons in the inventory other than his mobility and his big pot, but he's being forced down low again to the low ground. The pressure from King and Fazer, not even allowing anybody to look up, is impressive.
Amazing job, just like you said, making sure nobody knows that high ground is going to be an easy task to take. Shimoki.Y.T now maybe forced to pop these heals. They're doing it early, but they both have a good amount of medkits.
And this is something you don't see very often. The double heal to the backside of zone. Typically, you save them for one player. Hopefully, it'll pay off as all these solos get dropped out, including Vortexia. Edit course is being left by himself. There's plenty of loot around, but it's the materials that is nowhere to be found. No heals either. Big pot's going to be used because it's all he has left in the tank.
6 eliminations though. Mythic Hammer Pump. I know Edit Course has the confidence to continue here. 11 players up, it's 7 duos, and now he has to decide how can he stay up here. Where are the players at? But coming from the back of zone, eliminating Edit Course.
And it's King with another elimination while all that's going on. The pressure from the high ground is beginning to become a little bit too much for a couple of these players. But Rick Moore, they're going around the sides where there's not that easy of a line of sight, and they find if they have gold, they can get a free heal.
It might end up in a heal off here. We have a full duo in the mid ground, a full duo into the height, and on the low ground is Shimoki.Y.T now forced to drop below. They don't have the heal off. They need to take the engagement. Shots come through. You saw the medkits being dropped. Shimoki gets a knock, and they know that his duo is going for the heal off.
Yep, backside of zone. There's really time running out. Shimoki doesn't really have any options. He gets dropped. Players falling left, right, and center, including King, who drops down low to the low ground, playing Disruptor, and the script almost writes itself, but King gets shut down. No chance to pop any medkit on the low ground. He did his job and some as him and Fazer take the game.
The script has been written, perfectly executed endgame from King and Fazer, from taking height in the first moving zone, holding it throughout the whole endgame, and King in the last moments dropping down while his duo partner Fazer plays the heal off, denying the heals from the opponents, ultimately securing them the win.
They did such a fantastic job from upper bracket to lower bracket. A lot of teams will let the pressure, will let the disappointment get to them, but they didn't move across the world, playing one of the best regions to go down and out in FNCS just like that. They stepped up to the plate and they hit a grand slam to win that game.
Calm, collected, cold-blooded, and focused is what I see King and Fazer playing like right now. You can see they even had medkits to spare here. They didn't even have to play the heal off because King was so dominant in the low ground.
And the Fortnite gods gifted them a zone near their drop spot. They had everything they needed from zone 6, and they truly delivered, Levin.
Absolutely. The script, man, it just keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving. And
they can at least get a solid game out of this next and final game, I should say, of the lower bracket. But that has taken them to the top.